Today, we're diving into a high-stakes family drama that spilled into the Australian courts. It's a story about love, loyalty, and a truly mind-boggling amount of money.
Just look at that number for a second. Over 17 years, this is the exact amount that flowed from overseas into one couple's Australian bank accounts. It bought luxury homes, it funded businesses, it built what looked from the outside like a real empire.
But when the marriage fell apart, one single explosive question came up. Whose money was it really? The answer to that would decide who walked away a multimillionaire and who was left with just a fraction. To figure it out, the court had to untangle two completely different versions of the same family story.
So when Miss Wei and Mr. Zha's marriage ended, the court was facing a pretty incredible task. This wasn't just about dividing up some assets. It was about deciding which family's entire history was the truth. And believe me, the two stories could not have been more different.
Okay, first, let's look at the wife's reality. Miss Wei painted this picture of a dynamic partnership. She claimed that she and her husband weren't just a couple, they were key players, top executives, in his parents' very successful overseas business. So in her world, this huge sum of money wasn't a gift, it wasn't a loan from the in-laws, no way. She said this was their salary, their earnings, the fruit of their labor in the family business. It was joint property and it should be split in the divorce. Simple as that.
But then you have the husband, Mr. Zha, and his parents, and they told a story that was, well, the complete opposite. Their version was all about traditional family duty and smart overseas investing.
They insisted that those millions were their life savings, their business profits that they had sent to Australia purely for investment. Their son and daughter-in-law, they argued they were just caretakers of the wealth, holding everything in trust for the real owners, the parents. The judge himself actually described all the evidence as a gallimaufry, which is a fantastic old word for a confusing, jumbled-up mess. And his job was to somehow find one single thread of truth in this tangled heap of documents, testimonies, and conflicting stories. So both sides came to court armed with their paper trails. The wife, she had business cards with their names and executive titles, bank loan applications where they claimed high salaries, and of course, proof that all that money landed in her husband's account. But the parents fought back with their own records, showing the money moving from their accounts. And they had an ace up their sleeve. The couple's Australian tax records showed almost no income. I mean, how do you earn $13 million and pay basically no tax on it? You know, in a case like this with so much conflicting information, everything really comes down to credibility. Who does the judge believe? To win, the wife absolutely had to convince him that her story was the truth. But a statement from her own past was about to come back and haunt her. And boom, there it is. This was the killer blow. In a sworn legal document from a few years earlier, the wife herself had said this. It's just one sentence, but it completely contradicts her entire story in this case. The claim that she'd been a key business partner for years, earning that huge fortune. I mean, this wasn't just some minor slip-up. It struck right at the heart of her whole narrative. The judge pointed it out, the other side's lawyers hammered it home, and it really became a massive turning point. It just cast a huge shadow of doubt over everything else she had claimed. So after years of back and forth, it was finally time for a decision. Justice Harper had the tough job of cutting through all the emotion and applying cold, hard legal logic to this incredibly messy and personal family fight. And the judge's finding was crystal clear. He said the wife's story just wasn't believable, and he rejected it. He concluded that the parent's story was really the only one that made sense. And with that, the $13.5 million was officially ruled not to be the couple's matrimonial property. So to make this all official, the judge used a really powerful legal tool. It's called a purchase price resulting trust. Now, that sounds super complicated, but the idea behind it is actually very simple. Whoever actually pays for an asset is the true owner, no matter whose name is on the paperwork. And this table right here shows you the real-world results of that. The court painstakingly traced the parents' money, and it carved out their exact share of each and every property. This meant the parents were legally declared the true owners of huge chunks of the Australian real estate portfolio. Right, so once the parents' share was legally returned to them, the court then divided what was left over. And of that much smaller pool of assets, the wife was actually awarded the majority, 63%, which recognized her contributions as a homemaker and her future needs as the primary caregiver for their child. This case is more than just a wild story, it's a huge cautionary tale. It offers some really critical lessons for any family where money gets passed between generations. And, how you can hopefully avoid this kind of heartbreaking and incredibly expensive fight.
So, what's the biggest takeaway here? It's that clarity and documentation are your best defense. Before any big chunk of money changes hands in a family, you have to define its purpose, and you have to do it in writing. Is it a gift? Is it a loan with clear repayment terms? Is it an investment? A simple, clear document at the start can save millions of dollars and years of agony down the line. Ultimately, this whole case asks a really tough question. It shows us that while trust might be the foundation of a family, it can be a really fragile foundation for finances. In the eyes of the law, having clear written proof isn't a sign of distrust. It's actually the bedrock of financial security for everyone you care about.